Humbled to be here. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be able to share the game with you. Had a great experience so far sharing the game throughout Australia. I am here not to tell you that you're wrong. This is a safe environment. You can disagree with me. This is about asking the question, is there a better way? Generally, when I work with teams or I work with programs or I share, all my goal is to either add to what you do, make over what you do, or subtract from what you do. And the whole goal here is to be able to help these players be the best version of themselves. I connect it back to when I played, and for me as a player, I was the best version of myself after I played basketball and I started playing pickup, only pickup. No longer part of a team, no longer being coached. I was the best version of myself because I had freedom and permission. And when I was coached, I didn't have freedom and permission. And I'm going to talk about that as we go through that. But it's really hard for a player to become the best version of themselves if they're constantly worried about doing the wrong thing. And an example of that would be my daughters, 9 and 11, I've never taught them traditional footwork on a layup. I've never taught them on this side of the floor, they go left, right, up, and on that side of the floor, they go boom, 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 boom. Because I feel that as soon as I teach them something very specific like that, it becomes something that they do all the time. So the question becomes, does that help them in the long run, or does that hurt them in the long run? My opinion of that is teaching them proper layup footwork is a limitation. It's a limitation. It limits them, meaning more often than not, when they go shoot a layup, they're going to use proper layup footwork. Well, if you talk to a lot of professional coaches who are coaching players, they're constantly trying to teach them solutions at the rim so that they have more possibilities. So for me, I reverse engineer that and think, well, why am I teaching them one specific way to score when I want them to have multiple possibilities and solutions? And that's the goal for me when I coach, is to be able to provide them permission and freedom to become the best version of themselves. All right? Get in all four corners of the court, 3 people on offense, 1 ball, 3 people on offense, 1 ball, and 1 person on defense. So get in all the corners of the court. Everyone, all the corners of the court. Leave your balls. We have 1 ball. We have a ball. Get in the corners of the court. 1 person on defense. Okay, 3 on 1, go. Okay, hold. 3-on-1 transition. It's available, Basketball Immersion, YouTube. It's there for free. It gives me a platform to be able to talk about a lot of the ideas I'm going to share with you. Here's the concept. Number 1, teach the drill before the skill. Teach the drill before the skill. As a coach, I want to minimize the amount of time that I spend in instruction time or in management time for the players. I want to maximize the amount of time they learn by doing. I want to maximize the amount of time that they play basketball in practice. Why? Because I know that basketball transfers to basketball. So if we play basketball in practice, I know that I'm helping them, and these are my goals for players in a practice. I want them to individually get better, and I want it to help our team succeed. I know that basketball transfers to basketball. Here's what I don't know. I don't know if 3-man weave transfers any information for my players to the game. Why? Drills that don't have decisions remove some of the most important information that helps a player be the best version of themselves. And what we know is if I pass you the ball and it is a game situation, prior to shooting the ball, he first has to make a decision. So, here's the process he goes through. He first perceives, he second decides, he third executes a skill, and he fourth gets feedback on what happens. This perceive, decide, execute, feedback on what happens process, every single player that plays basketball goes through those steps before they execute a biomechanical skill. The problem for us as coaches is we spend an obsessive amount of time, I feel, on the biomechanical skill. And the skill is actually the third part. Before he executes a skill, he perceives and decides. This is where I would argue that the decision is more important than the skill. So I don't want to practice by removing some of the key features of what happens in a game, and that is the decision. So if I do a lot of drills like three-man weave or perfection drills where it's on air, no defense, then I'm removing the perception and decision process. That's the part that transfers to games, right? So I want to make sure that everything we do in practice connects skills and decisions so that the players can develop and our teams can succeed. Here's even a little bit more. I would argue you should not do anything in a basketball practice where someone is not trying to score. If you do any drill or any game in practice where they're not trying to score, we are removing the whole point of the game. And now that drill or that small-sided game or that activity is less likely to connect anything useful for that player. Because again, the whole point of basketball is to score. Basketball is a game of opposites. What's the answer on offense? Space. The answer on offense is space. Offense wants to create space. So it's a game of opposites. So if offense wants to create space, what does defense want to do? Take away space. To me, that is a fundamental. And we think hand the ball is a fundamental, pivoting is a fundamental, but to me, the decision is a fundamental. The decision of whether I have space or I don't have space. And this comes back to the layup. I don't care how my daughters shoot a layup. What I care about is whether they shoot a layup with space, or what we would call an open window. Them coming up with a solution to be able to shoot a layup with open space is more valuable than me telling them specifically how they should shoot that layup. The other part that goes with that is, do they need to do my solution, or can we co-create a solution, or is their solution the best solution for them? And often we go in and we predetermine for a player what their solution should be rather than co-create it. So in 3-on-1 transition, the player that shoots the ball gets back on defense. If there's no shot, it's the player that turned the ball over. So who shot the ball? Get back on defense. Now, stay. You three. No, you're back. Do you want to play more basketball or less basketball? More basketball. Why? Because you get better at basketball by playing basketball. You don't get better at playing the piano by running around the piano. You get better at piano by playing piano. And sometimes we disconnect basketball practice from actually basketball, thinking they're getting better at basketball by doing things that don't have anything to do with basketball. So, what we want to connect for the players is, in practice, you want to play as much basketball as possible. So, if you get the ball, any one of you three, whoever gets the ball gets to stay on the floor and play more basketball. Your consequence of not competing and getting the ball is you go off and don't play basketball. Now, you get the ball, first player in each line goes, and we go. 3-on-1. Okay, hold, recreate. Now, commands in the gym. Hold means hold the ball. No extra shots, no extra dribbles. This is my classroom. I am managing my classroom. So they know my commands, my cues, to be able to get them to be able to stop, so I can teach as fast as possible in short bursts of information. Short bursts of information. So, recreate. Recreate means come back to where the situation was, where we had it. Now, catch the pass. Does that help her play better basketball? Did I give her any information at all that helps her play better basketball? Most importantly, were you trying to drop the pass? You were, weren't you? Like, you came today and said, I'm going to drop the pass. No, of course not. But that's what we do. We give feedback to players often. Make the layup. Set a better screen. Like they're not trying to make the layup and they're not trying to do the right thing. But we've got to think about the feedback we give, right? So she's not trying. We agree she's not trying to drop the ball. So how can we give her information that actually helps her? That's constantly the situation. The screen example, set a better screen. Okay, well, get your feet to too wide. If they go under the screen, adjust your angle, blah, blah, blah. Like, give them the information that actually helps them play better basketball. A bunch of things. If we have to coach effort, that's a problem, right? But here's the thing. All the consequences, all the punishments, we know. Like, if running solved problems, we'd have no problems. Right? If consequences solve problems, we would have no problems. They don't. So any consequences we have in practice, we try and keep them as natural or logical as possible. And the logical consequence of not catching the ball is you don't get to play offense anymore. So she either dropped the ball or you threw it away. Let's say you threw it away, that was a bad pass. So we turned the ball over. So the natural consequence is now we don't get to play offense anymore. So you need to get back on defense. Of the other three players, whoever got the ball gets to stay on. To me, coming up with ideas where we connect basketball to natural and logical consequences around playing offense. How many of you like playing offense? Right? They all love playing offense. Most importantly, what do you love about offense? What do you love doing?
Get to score.
Get to score. They want to score. They want to score. So if you remove scoring from a drill, you're removing part of the connection and love and passion to the game and the reason why they play basketball. But also you remove some of the perception decision around the whole point of the game. So we turned it over, you're getting back on defense. Whoever got the loose ball first, which you got the loose ball first, you get to stay on. Now, let's talk about playing hard. Play hard, play hard, run hard. Well, let's define that. Like, whatever you want to do. Like, if you're going to coach it, make sure they understand exactly what that means. When you run your wing right now, you are going to sprint to the half-court line, butt to the sideline, so you're going to hug the sideline, and you're not going to look over your inside shoulder until you get to half-court. Ready? You're doing the same, right? Defense is back. Ready? Go. Go. Hold. Hold. Go back. Recreate. I'm going to coach them in the context of the game. Now, did you hug the sideline when you ran? Okay, you know the answer then. What did you take away from your own team? You took away space. I don't need to do a lot to coach if I connect everything I do in our practice to our principles of play. Our principle of play on offense is space. We want to create space. The other principle of play is we want to create big or small advantages. The third principle of play is we want to define for our players what type of shots we want to get. Alex Sarama, Basketball Immersion, has a great chart. If you want it, just DM us. Gold medal, silver medal, and bronze medal, and define shots accordingly. Let's just simplify it right now. A gold medal shot is any shot that gets into the smile. We want to get to the smile. The charge circle we call the smile, because it's the happiest place on earth. A basketball player will be the best version of themselves and have more fun playing basketball, and our team will succeed if we can get the ball to the smile. So we can connect this very easily. And by the way, I've told them this coaching clinic is not about them. The way I would run a coaching clinic is very different than the way I'd run a basketball practice. When we ran a basketball practice with you guys, were you active playing basketball the whole time? They played basketball for an hour and a half. It's not about me. Practice is not about me. Practice is about them. They don't need to hear me break down 10 minutes of anything. They need to self-discover, play, explore, and to go through possibilities. And we coach with a constraints-led approach, and I'll give you two simple concepts that go with that. Constraints-led approach is basically we're using things that are going to shape learning. And in most cases, we are going to limit something to afford something else. For example, what did I limit you from doing in the session today? A spin dribble. We limited the spin dribble, so we afforded them the opportunity to explore other possibilities. So, if you want to think about it this way, we coach with musts or possibilities, right? You must set a ball screen, or you can set a ball screen or run a get. So coaching within the game, coaching while they play the game, involves me being able to manage the classroom and communicate quickly in short bursts of information. And it also involves me being able to shape learning through using constraints that create the behaviors or the skills, and decisions are skills, that we want to appear. So that's what we're trying to do in our practice environment. Our practice environment is the thing that provides motivation for them. As a coach, I'm not a motivator. I'm not responsible for their learning. You know what I am as a coach? I'm responsible for creating an environment where they can be motivated and they can be responsible for their learning. That's my responsibility. And if she's not motivated at practice, it's probably something to do with the environment I've created. And we'll talk more about that as we go through it. Now, we go back, we always follow feedback with action. And this is a very common problem at all levels of coaching, from observing really high-level coaches on down, is that you're really good at giving really good feedback and information to players, but then often you do it in a way where they don't get to apply it. For example, we just played 3 trips of the floor, and then I start talking to her about something that happened in the first trip of the floor. How about if in the flow of the 3 trips, I say hold, recreate, just like she did here, where she ran and took away space, and then we go back. You already knew the answer, didn't you? All I have to do is look and ask a question. She knew the answer. It would have been a short burst and say, hey, what did you take away? She said space, and then we recreate, and what do we get to do? Follow feedback with action. Okay, hold, recreate, go back. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold the ball, no extra dribble, no extra shot. Recreate means go back to the situation that we want to create. Recreate. Well, why do we recreate? We recreate because we can connect skills and decisions. We have offense versus defense, and we can connect skills and decisions because right now she can see it in the context in which it happened, or it will happen. Go back. Skill is the elimination of something as much as it is the addition of something. So think about skill as the elimination of something. What could you eliminate to help us be more efficient and effective and help you be more efficient and effective? Dribble. Didn't you dribble it like 5 times? Right? So she can eliminate a dribble to be able to become more effective. So one of the reasons I like 3-on-1 transition, and one of the reasons that I like coaching, is that I can help players both by adding something or removing something. So in this 3-on-1 transition, what's real obvious is if we remove dribbles, they can play more efficiently and effectively. If we remove passes, why do we want to remove passes? What is the goal of offense? To score. So we don't get points for dribbles and we don't get points for passes. So we want to score as efficiently as possible and as effectively as possible. So within this drill now, when you watch them play, watch how many things you can say, hold, recreate, can you eliminate that? And simply by doing that, I can make her more effective. Yeah, it's not as fun as saying, okay, let's add a 45 dribble move that you saw someone do in the pros, but it helps her be a better basketball player. And all these players want to be better basketball players. So help them be more efficient and effective. So recreate, follow feedback with action, and now can you make this off of 1 dribble? Yeah, go, boom. Okay, hold. So you just answered the question. What's the goal of offense? What's the goal of offense? To score. And as soon as you caught it, what were you thinking? What should you do? Score. Right, go score. Now, let's define this. We're going to do this for all of you. Stop. Big advantage or small advantage for you on that catch? Big advantage. So, me first for us. A Doug Novak term. On the basketball podcast, Doug Novak talks about it all the time. I love it. I've adapted it. And by the way, I've talked about this with coaches around the world. Let's quit saying we're stealing something. Give yourself way more credit than that. None of you are stealing anything. You're adapting it or adopting it, right? And anything I give, or anything you take away from here, you are adapting it and making it your own. And that's what we're all doing. And that's the beautiful thing about all of you, is you're taking it and making it your own. So we passed it to you. You have a big advantage. So you should try and go score. Passing is a secondary decision. Scoring is the first decision. That's what me first for us means. Me first means if I try and score, it helps me, yes. And if I can't score, then it's because I draw 2 people, and that's good for us. Well, here's the other part of it. If she scores, is that good for us? Yes, because we want to win. So we kind of have unintentionally created a whole bunch of players that overpass and over dribble because they don't understand their value. The other connection we want to make for them all the time is literally this. Why are you working on your skills if you're not going to try and apply them in a scoring situation? Why spend any time on your game? Like, we get frustrated at players, they're not working on their game. They're not working on their game. They don't work on their game. Well, would you work on your game if you show up at practice and you never get to shoot? Like, we've got to connect it, and that's where I say the decision. My 9-year-old has never turned down a shot. In range, in rhythm, open, meaning she has more than arm length advantage. Literally, I've never seen her in her life turn down an open shot. She does not make those shots yet. Most powerful word in learning is yet. That's where I argue the decision is more important than the skill, especially if we're talking about development. For her in development to understand that if she has space and she's in rhythm, she gets to shoot the ball, isn't she more likely to want to work on her basketball game and her individual skill to get better? And that's where we connect things too for players. Two aspects to coaching: player-led development and coach-led development. Player-led development are things they can do on their own. Turn, face the coaches, dribble the ball on your own, stationary, boom, boom, go, pound the ball, hard, crossover, boom, 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 boom. Okay, hold. We've all seen these drills. The beautiful thing about the platform that I've built is I feel like it's been an honor to become an advocate for coaches. You are far more valuable than you realize. She can do that on her own. You bring far more value than having your players do on-air drills in practice. You can better connect skills and decisions for players than she can. She can do that on her own. Okay, well, my players won't do it on their own. Well, then how do we create that environment where they do? What we do with the under 12s is at the end of every practice, we do something called homework basketball. Homework basketball. All the players will come in and I'll show them something like this that they can do on their own. And why do I do it at the end of practice? Because parents usually drop off their kids and don't come in at the beginning, but they usually come in at the end of practice. So I want the parents to be there when I do the homework basketball segment. Okay, everybody go home, work on that. Okay, the most important part of all that, and I would argue the most important part of creating a learning environment in practice is one, creating psychological safety. You're all safe, you belong. I'm really happy you're here. I'm excited to coach you. Every single practice, every player I'm there with will be told in some context multiple times that I'm really happy to coach them and I'm excited to coach them. Right? The second thing is I need to notice progress. Every single practice is about noticing progress. So I gave them homework basketball. She went home and she worked on it. The next practice, she can do something better than she could before. I'm gonna notice it. I'm gonna say, man, all that hard work at home has really paid off. You're really improving. And it doesn't have to be big noticing in terms of now she's perfect, because I think sometimes we only notice perfect or much better. How about if we say, hey, you were kind of bad at this last week. You're less sucky this week. Great job working on it. Learning is non-linear. It doesn't go from just, okay, we're bad and now we're great, right? It goes from we're bad, we're okay, we're better, we're good, we're great, and then there's still more to go beyond that. So we have to normalize the learning process. Normalize the learning process, create psychological safety, notice progress. To me, that's more important than anything on your practice plan. Any drill, any small-sided game, all that's more important. Noticing something they couldn't do as well and now they do it better. Every single practice as many times as possible. And by the way, those don't have to happen in big conversations. Here's the other thing that I think coaches can do a better job of. Far more mini conversations. Mini conversations. When you catch the ball, I really want you to attack to score because I see how hard you work on your game. You deserve to score. This doesn't have to be a public conversation all the time. That mini conversation, I believe, has more impact on building a player and shaping a player and creating your learning environment and supporting your learning environment than any type of big conversation. Hey, everybody come in and we have a whole conversation. No. And unfortunately, again, I get it. Like Hollywood has portrayed coaching as these major motivational moments and these speeches and all these different things. And we know that coaching is all in mini conversations. Culture, shaping a player's mind, building their confidence, all those things come in mini conversations. And I did say it to you guys, and you probably remember it because you've heard it twice. Skill equals confidence. Why are you working so hard on your skills? So you can be confident. I get asked all the time, parents, coaches ask me, how can I help my son or daughter become more confident? I say, they gotta get more skilled. Why should you play more than someone that's not skilled? Because you worked harder to get skilled. It's okay to say that. It's okay to say that someone's better than someone because they worked harder to get better. That's okay, that's reality. That's a big part of the learning process for all of them, for their life, to connect those things. So, big advantage, small advantage, play. Okay, hold. So we turned a layup and a smile into a bronze medal. So we would coach that. Now, again, it's not about them here, it's about you. So we would connect that and we would coach that. Here's the thing. To me, again, at the end of the day, this recreate and coach them Some of you say, oh, well, you're stopping them while they're playing basketball. And that's annoying. They want to play basketball. Oh, no, wait a second. For an hour and a half, 2 hours, an hour that I have them, they are playing offense versus defense the whole practice. You know when it becomes annoying to get stopped? When you have drill, and then for the last 5-10 minutes of practice, you get to play 5-on-5. That's when they get annoyed when you stop it. We have an agreement. In practice, we're going to play basketball. But while we play basketball, I'm going to coach you. That's the agreement. We also have an agreement, which is, can I coach you? Can I coach you? Okay, she's going to say yes, because I'm the coach. She doesn't really know what that means. So you need to explain that to players and people, what being coached means. What being coached means is, I'm going to tell you things better. I'm going to tell you when you can do things better. And I'm also going to be positive. Well, what does positive mean? Positive in a coaching context is this. Okay, I really like your shoes. Okay, that makes them feel good, right? So part of positive is making them feel good about themselves. But most of the positive is about replicating the behavior. I want him to replicate that behavior. So, I really like his shoes means he hears that, he's going to feel good, but most importantly, he's going to wear those shoes again. And we're going to replicate the behavior. That's what being positive is, and that's what this whole environment is about. Another thing, analytics, definitely one of the best movements in basketball. I'm not a mega math person, but I can follow the analytics and all that. Points per possession, whatever you want to talk about. Here's the most important part about analytics. Analytics drives behavior. Analytics drives behavior. Okay, so how do you drive behavior? I am a community coach. I have them 2 hours a week, or 1.5 hours 2 times a week, and I'm gonna have analytics? I'm just by myself, or I have one assistant. That's hard. But here's the thing, if I value deflections, then I want to chart deflections. Because charting it will drive the behavior. They'll know how many deflections. They'll know how many deflections. Generally, if we get 25 deflections, we win the game. That's a great number. Like, that's positive goal setting. Here's the other part. We talk about charting gold medals. Well, knowing how many gold medals we get that leads to a win or leads to success is really powerful. And that reinforces what we're coaching. And every single time we coach, we want to connect them to, that's what we worked on. That's what we worked on. Man, if anything, if I had a full-time staff or if I had a staff, we would always, after every practice, every game, have a that's what we worked on video. And that would be connecting practice to game, game to practice, and say, hey, we work on this in practice, here's how it's helping you in a game. And that could be individual or team. That's powerful, and that reinforces what we're doing in practice. You know, the other part about this is, you don't have a staff. How many of you have parents that come to practice and watch practice? To me, one of the most important parts about having parents at practice is, I want to put them on the team. My parents come to practice, that's cool, everyone's welcome. But if you come to practice, you're on the team. And what that means is, you are going to be an active participant in our development. So you're not coming to practice and sitting there on your phone or doing work. So I have a parent, they're at practice, I'm going to hand them the chart, and you're going to say, you're going to track the gold medals today. You're going to track the deflections. You're going to be on the court officiating. I'll talk about that in a second. But the charting part, if I have a parent chart the gold medals, that's a wonderful thing, because now I'm putting them on our team and they become very involved in the process of our development. The other part of that is 2 really good things happen. One is we get analytics that drive behavior. 2, they don't come back to practice. Both of those are positives, aren't they? So I want to make sure that parents feel a part of the process. Why would I have parents officiate? Because sympathy and empathy are very different, right? I want them to experience what it's like to officiate. Well, you know what, I'd also have parents substitute in practice. I'll have parents coach in practice. You got this team, you coach them. Because somehow, being an advocate for coaches, somehow everyone thinks they can coach. Do all of you think you can be a doctor and perform surgery? And are you criticizing people that are performing surgeries? But somehow, those of us who've gone through education for coaching are free game to be criticized like crazy. Same for officials. I've never gone through an officials course, but somehow it's free game for me to criticize them. Probably more important if I know my doctor's kill versus save rate, right? That's the point. And it's kind of ludicrous, but at the same time, we can create a better environment by putting the parents on our team to help our team, but also we can get them to understand this whole process that goes with this. Okay, get 4 people on offense, 4 people on offense, and 4 people on defense down there. So we're gonna go 4, 4, and 4. I think we have enough? Or we're 1 short? Here, come here. Actually, let's go 3. Go 3 here, and then just go off for a second. Just sit down right there. You can sub in though. Hey, by the way, this is a beautiful thing. When we sub someone out, we don't sub them in, unless the parents are doing it. So who subs himself in? Do you give your players a communication plan? We've talked about that a few times, the communication plan. Here's your communication plan to come on the floor. Anytime somebody's not involved in offense or defense, you can sub them. All you have to do is call their name. They can't say no unless they say no. And they can only say no when I tell them, hey, no, keep them on, right? Otherwise they have to listen to you. That's a communication plan. So it's not a debate. It's not like, hey, what's your name?
Rowan.
Rowan, and he says, Rowan. And you're like, no. He says Rowan, you gotta go off.
Yeah.
But what's a good thing? You can sub yourself back in.
Yeah.
Because you just have to call someone else's name. So whatever it is, whatever you want to do, we gotta call a communication plan. Because you know what? If you just sit off, that's fine with all of us, right? It's his responsibility to communicate and lead himself and get on the floor and off the floor. If we want better communicators and better leaders, put them in situations where they have to communicate and lead. So you got to get yourself on the floor. That's your responsibility. Play from there. Okay, we are 3 on 3 on 3. So go 3 on 3. Go. Okay, I'm the guy that says play basketball. So let's give you some ideas about playing basketball. 2 of them are really obvious. Alternate possession. So we can play 3 on 3 and 3, 4 on 4 and 4, 5 on 5 and 5, alternate possessions, no matter what happens. Or we can play score you keep. Or we can do what we call bursts. B-U-R-S-T-S, bursts. This is my version of marrying that we want to get structure, repetitive reps. So burst means the team that was just on offense is going to get 3 possessions. So give them the ball again. 3 possessions. So they're gonna get 1, 2, 3. 3 is an arbitrary number. Go, just play. Play through my voice. Get a 3rd possession. Go. Okay, now hold. Hold. One of the important parts of the teaching process, backed by evidence-based research, is this concept of retrieval practice. We want to stimulate retrieval practice constantly within practice. That means we don't want to go in blocks, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then come back the next practice. Instead, we want to mix things constantly so that we stimulate them retrieving something in their brain that they previously did. Basically on the verge of forgetting is when they're remembering, and we come back to it, so they have to retrieve it. Retrieval practice leads to retention. So when we play basketball in practice, we are constantly coming back to similar situations constantly. Go back. How are you supposed to run in transition? Butt to sideline, look over your inside shoulder. So we can connect skills and decisions constantly. And beautiful thing is, I didn't have to coach her, did I? All I had to do is offer her a question. She knew the answer. That's beautiful, that's learning. She knew the answer. So did she run to half court, not look over inside shoulder till she got there, and hug the sideline. Now, what can we eliminate? Skill is the elimination of something. What can we eliminate? We can eliminate dribbles, right? So if somebody's ahead of you and you're ahead of her, or ahead of them, what can we do instead of dribble? Pass, pass. Good, stop. Now, we can talk about our principles of play. Is this a big advantage or small advantage or neutral? Neutral, meaning there's 3 players back on defense. That's a neutral situation. If we have an advantage, say right there, temporary advantage, then we want to take advantage of advantage. That's a principle of play, big advantage, small advantage, and then that connects to what we call dominoes, which is if you have an advantage and then you draw help, then obviously you want to go me first for us and score, or you want to draw help and keep the dominoes falling, meaning keep the defense in recovery. You keep the defense in recovery by keeping the ball moving or keeping the ball penetrating. You keep the defense moving. So every single thing we do, and then obviously we're going to evaluate gold medal, bronze medal, or silver medal shot. So we're constantly mixing those principles of play throughout practice. And I'm not here to tell you what to teach. You can run Princeton, you can run dribble drive, you can do conceptual, all good. All good. In fact, I believe a lot of kids and teams and players need structure, because structure gives them actually some freedom. Structure helps them understand what you want them to do. But my big thing with structure is I want structure to go to unstructure. Because here's the thing. Basketball decisions supersede basketball plays. Basketball decisions supersede basketball plays. So, I run Princeton offense, that's great. But if you catch it in Princeton offense and you have space, meaning more than arm length advantage, what should she do? In range, in rhythm, what should she do? Shoot. She catches it in Princeton offense and she has shoulder to chest advantage, meaning she has a space advantage. What should she do? Drive to score. So we want to constantly talk about taking advantage of advantage and connecting that to principles of play. So this mixing concept in learning can apply to skill development, team development, all development, because we want to constantly come back and hit the same things throughout practice. But we're doing it while we're playing basketball. So bursts. I'll give you 2 other little things here. Give it to them. Cool. Okay, go the other way. Now hold. Here's your constraint. Shrink the floor. You must play inside my chest. So wherever I am, you must play inside my chest. So if I'm over here, you must play inside my chest. Okay? Go, 3 on 3, you must play inside my chest. Go, go, go. Let's go quick. Go, go. Hold, turnover, you're outside my chest. Go. Turnover, it's outside my chest. So what's the consequence of not doing it right? They lose possession of the ball on offense. What are they doing constantly is they have to scan the floor to see if they have more or less space depending on where I'm shrinking the floor. And by the way, am I doing that in practice, or am I putting a parent on my team to have them shrink the floor constantly? Yeah, of course I'm going to have a parent do it ideally, because it's a good thing for them to do, and I need to coach. As a coach, I don't want to pass in practice. I don't want to do things like that in practice, because I want to coach the game in practice. I want to coach the game in practice. But shrink the floor, here's how it connects. Come this way. Okay, hold, stay there, stop. Have every one of you taught your players to pick up the ball in transition inside the 3-point line? Yeah, no, none of us have taught them to do that, right? So here's what you've got to think about. The unintentional consequences of how we've run practices has taught players things that we don't want them to do. Because we run a lot of practices where we start from half court and we play a lot of 5-on-5 half court reps or half court reps, They've learned to pick up the ball inside the three-point line, even though none of your transition defensive systems pick up the ball inside the three-point line. Where have all your coaches told you at least to pick up the ball? Half court, at least half court. So again, one of the reasons we want to play more basketball in practice is to connect the things that we actually want them to do every single game. Like, why spend all that time teaching transition offense and defense if they don't get to use it in practice? Most of our practices should be full court. Most of our practices should be full court because that's how the game's played. Now, you can do controlled trips, 3 trips, a half court trip to a full court trip, different things like that. It's all good in terms of those things. But we want to play full court because we've got to build our transition offense and defense. Okay? Now we're playing from there. Cool, let's go. Beautiful. Okay, hold. We're good? We understand? Shrink the floor. So you've got to think about ways to be able to connect your principles of plays for your players. Everyone get a ball. Everyone get a ball. Go to this rim down here. You guys didn't do this with me. Get outside the rim. Get outside the three-point line. Make a dribble move. Drive in. Score in the smile. Everyone's going at this rim. Go, go. Make a dribble move. Drive in. Score. Go. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Hold. Yeah, you can get the balls in, get the balls in. Okay, so I'm the same. I used to think that was unsafe. And now what I realize is actually building more safety. It's actually connecting more things for them. If I'm gonna do skill development stuff, I wanna do it all to one basket. Because I've already told you, one of our principles of play is space. So when they all drive to the same rim, whether you're teaching a skill that's like, oh, we must go off 2 feet, or you can go off 2 feet, or you can do, a back pivot, whatever it is, them all going to the same basket causes them to constantly have to scan and find what? Space. More importantly, if they're driving and there's people in their way, then they have to find a solution. Because I'm not going to just drive into 3 people and shoot it in a game. So why would we think they would do that in a practice? Do we think they're unsafe? No, so find a solution. I drive into 3 people, I can slow down. Oh, I see them there, I'm gonna slow down a second and then go fast when they leave. I'm gonna drive in, instead of go off of 1 foot, I'm gonna go off of 2 feet because there's multiple people there. I'm gonna change my path to the basket. So different things like that create intentional chaos and messiness can really help players develop this scanning skill of being able to find space and play in space. To me, that's a part of the evolution of the game, which can help these players immensely connect principles of play to skill development. Okay, all of you come here for a second. Just look up at the coaches. Actually, look up at the camera, right there. I told them this wasn't about them, and that's partly true, because obviously they didn't get to play a lot of basketball, because I'm talking to you and I'm trying to educate you or to stimulate your thinking about what the possibilities are around some of the things I say. But I kind of lied, because this really is about you. Because the beautiful thing is, you doing this for the coaches added incredible value to them. And do you know what happens when we add value to them? Where does the value come back to? You. You. The best player development is coach development. By you being here and listening to this, you have made a commitment to players to consider possibilities within your coaching that can improve your coaching, that can improve them. Lastly, I'll leave you with this one thought as I wrap up, and thank you for taking the time and listening to this. I get it. It is really hard. The hardest thing maybe in life, definitely in coaching, is to give up a known good for an unknown better. To give up a known good for an unknown better. Why do a lot of us stick to things we've done in the past? Because we know they're good. But what can really, really help us all develop coaching in basketball is to consider the possibilities of a known better.